Okay, good morning. I am recording this, so we may be able to share this with others. This is an analyst judging webinar using the Group1ARV protocol. We will be learning by doing a real prediction on a Major League Baseball game. Now, a 1ARV prediction begins with one unitary prediction. I'm going to summarize this, which will put in context the judging, which we'll do, but I need to make sure we all use the same language. Okay? So some of you have already seen this, but nevertheless there may be questions, and feel free to ask questions as we go along, because it's kind of important that you understand things and the language from the beginning. So the normal remote viewing with a coordinate 1, with a transcript, the objective being to describe and sketch a feedback target, and since we're only doing one target for one coordinate in the unitary approach, we have this situation. The viewer's objective is to come here and describe his target. The target will be an indicator photo site, for example this, which only the judges will see. He's going to get feedback here. This is going to be our job to play in this area here. Now, the word side means we're going to be doing a baseball game today. It'll have two sides. In our case, we're going to do over the total runs versus under the total runs, which is a standard wager that they do, and it's a 50-50 kind of proposition usually around there. So if this side occurs, the viewer will see this as his target. That will be his truth point. We would be looking to see a match here if all we did was a unitary, or something else, because if this side, say over, does not occur, then he would get what's called the wild card. The wild card is now a random, it can be other things, but we're currently, most people are using a random target that comes up from a specific website. You can see the URL there. If I were to click that, a random photo would come up. That would be his wild card. So as a judge, we wouldn't know that. All we know is that that's a possibility. And that's basically what's involved in a unitary ARV prediction. And you could use that, and for a short while we actually did use that. If we got a good match, you could trade on that side. If you did not get a good match, you'd assume it was the other side or the person was off that day. So you really waited for a good match. Now, what are we doing now? To create one 1ARV prediction, we actually do two transcripts. So we've asked all the viewers, and you will be seeing them, two coordinates, and they now are doing two unitary predictions, just like the one before, but now they do a second one with the second coordinate. And guess what? That's associated with the second side. So if this is over, this coordinate, this one would be under. And as the judges, we're going to set that, and you'll see that on a Excel spreadsheet pretty soon. Now, so just like there was an indicator photo site here, there's now one for side 2, and by looking at both this transcript and comparing it with this one and these transcripts, transcript 2 for each of the viewers, comparing it with this photo, so this coordinate is rigidly associated with this side and whatever IPS there is in this example here. So that's the basic approach. Now, one prediction, two six. This is, if you understand this, you understand 1ARV. The indicator photo site on the side that actually happens is the group target, and all viewers do feedback sessions on this target. This leads to a type of coherence, and I'm going to quickly show you some examples of that. The other coordinate is the wild card. Now that's a random one. That's no coherence. It can be other things, and someday I think more and more people are going to start using other approaches for their wild card because it can be very personalized. Things could be put in envelopes, for example. The point from the 1ARV standpoint is that there's no coherence. Now, our task as judges is going to be to look at all the transcripts and make a group prediction with a group confidence ranking. We'll do that by looking at the transcripts individually and ranking them. The game in particular is going to be New York Yankees, Cleveland Indians. The sides are over/under. That's a standard wager. It'll be the total runs scored by the Yankees and the Cleveland. So if the score is 4-3, that would be the total runs scored, and the Las Vegas people, and we'll do that before things are over because we'll be sending out the predictions to the viewers, we will see what the odds makers have said is the 50-50 point or so. And so we'll have a very specific prediction, but it'll be over/under whatever they are have said is the near 50-50 point. Now we use Excel spreadsheets for organizing all of these data, and we'll be doing that today. This is a quick view. We'll be going to the real sheet, but the point here is we will be making a group prediction. We will be listing for each of the sides, the coordinate, the side, the viewer's name, and then we put comments here and come up with the confidence ranking, and then we put the group confidence rankings here. We make a prediction. We send it out to the viewers, and then I keep this up after the baseball game or whatever the event is. I then add the actual outcome, maybe make some comments. These spreadsheets are really for the analyst judge, and I'm hoping some of you will eventually form groups, and do things. This may be a baseline, but you'll come up with your own way of doing things. And then the actual hit, I use the word sidekick for miss these days because there's a lot to learn. Now I quickly want to show you what I mean by cohesion. Here's an example of what was an IPS and then became a target. And then I put together these analyst judge summaries. And these I found to be very important and helpful, both for the judges and for the remote viewers, because they come back and get additional feedback by looking at these sorts of things. So here's an example. One viewer, you can see the different colors on the outside. So this actually had 3 viewers. And if all you had was one transcript, you might not have felt real comfortable predicting this direction. But with all 3 of them, in fact, this was quite easy to do. You've got one view going down, you've got the circles, you've got words here which match, wood, steel, stone, rubber. Looks really good. Here's another one where you've got the face, you've got the arches. You're getting multiple elements, and I'm going to show you how we judge these shortly in terms of quantitatively giving numbers to them. But then this last thing I want to show you is here we're introducing one last concept, which as judges we just stay alert to, and it's called bleed through. Here were the normal transcripts for 584895, this coordinate. People, noise, land, cluttering, cramped. I wouldn't think that would be enough to predict here. I feel exciting. Okay, yep, that matches, but is that enough? Here we have a person. That was just one person's. The closest to support that I could find with this alone was brown, woodsy, grainy, squeaky gaps, and a sense of lines. You know, there are a lot of lines here, and maybe a circle, but not real strong, kind of marginal on whether you would go with it, in my opinion, as a judge. However, the other coordinate associated with the other side had all of this, which was much better. Audience, large land, happy people, stage, perform, once like, center of attention, musical instrument, drum major. Together, this was easy now to say, yes, let's go ahead and predict it. Why was this associated with the other coordinate? This is a kind of displacement. These people really, their intention was to describe the target associated with the other coordinate, which would have been the wild card. Now, they don't know that at the time, but what I do know is that everybody in the group is going to see this one as their feedback. And so they actually displaced to that. We do not encourage that, but when it happens, we take advantage of it. Okay, the last slide before we jump in is the TAR confidence ranking system. Now, this is the system we use to rank it and to sort of help us come to a decision on what to predict, whether we think there's enough psychic information to go forward and predict. So he uses 0 to 7. 0 is no correspondence, which is rare, happens. Little correspondence. 2 is basically chance. After you do this enough, you understand there are always, or almost always, going to be some matches by chance. I mean, the color black or white is in almost everything. There are a few things like that, and you might get 1 or 2 things right, low-level matches, and so that's chance. Here you get to the point where you feel there are some correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct that you're saying, you know what, there has been some contact with the target. So this is just kind of on the margin of really making good contact. But we'd say, yeah, there's some contact, but that wouldn't be enough to trade. What you're really looking for are higher ones, 4, 5s, and above. A 4 says good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect data. So now, yes, you've got several matches, and you're feeling pretty good about this. You think the chances of this really being chance are pretty small. You're feeling pretty good. 5s, you're feeling very good, because now we get these keywords: good correspondence with unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. Now we're talking about some really good matches. You saw some examples before where there's a musician and they talk about music and audiences and that sort of thing. Even the drum, while it was a guitar, you know, you understand there was a band there. This is unambiguous, unique, matchable elements. And now you've got elements, so you've got, you know, at least a couple of them. And then 6 begins to bring in AOL information, which is analytical, and then you get pretty much right on. Now we consider 3.5 to be wagerable, and so there are times where you're right on the margin here, and do you put a 3.5 or don't for the group? And that's one of the difficult parts of being a judge. You have to make those judgments. That's our responsibility. Any questions about that? Okay, so you feel reasonably comfortable with that. Good. Okay, now let's look at 2 things. This is the spreadsheet. And you're now seeing, and I chose these, I have a indicator photo site. I just keep updating this sort of as I go through my life, as I come across what I think are good potential targets, and if I get low, I keep about 60 or so going regularly, and I randomly choose them. I choose the first one, I randomly then choose the second one, but if it's too close, I take the next in line. Anyway, I have my own technique to get to, which I like them to be different, and I don't mind you. In fact, I actually encourage looking at them a little bit now, because bleed through is in the back of our minds, but we'll go through a more formal way of getting that. Okay, so now the next step is to begin looking at the transcripts. What I've done, oops, I brought the wrong one over. What I've done is taken the information from the viewers and put them in different forms. It looks like they're mostly PDFs. Yeah, look, and there was one that came in where they had only gave me text. They said they had a problem getting the graphics. So we're going to go through these, and I've put them in a format like this. Usually I print them out, and I actually want to look at them, and I circle things on them, and then I write down in this column all of my comments, so that by the time I get done, I have a whole bunch of comments here. And let's see if we can do that. So I've opened up the first one. This is Chris. So let's, okay, so this is Chris's, so we'll put his name here. So this is Chris. And now let's see how we can look at both of these at the same time. I came up with a way of doing that. Okay, and I suggest that you get pencil and paper and actually go through writing down the things which match. So why don't you even see, the problem is this gets hard for me to do and you to look at it. So I think what I'd like to do is talk about it and have you talk with me now as judges. We're going to learn by doing. So what you do here, usually, as I said, I would have a pencil and a paper. In fact, can I write on PDF files? Do I get, like, is there a pencil that I can use? Any of you know about PDF? Select and zooming. Yeah, it doesn't look like there is.
Hand tool, possibly. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not an expert. You know, I know how to get them in here. Okay, well, look, let's, here I can mark them this way. So what do we see that matches? We're looking at this one. Obviously, we see water right here. So I would now go here and write water, and I hope you do that. And I end off then with the whole things. But what else do we have? White, yes. Splash, good. Movement, good. Dynamic, hard. Cascading. Big wave. Turbulent, streaming, falling, roaring, noisy, splashing sound. Let's say, talk to me. I want you guys to participate in this. How do you feel about this one? What do you think?
This is incredible.
Big splash. Right. Hard.
Yeah,
running.
I agree with Deborah. That whole first bit of downloaded
Right on.
information is just really right on spot.
Tilting, abruptly severe.
All
Water,
those
water, water.
several shapes that look like the penguin, the drawing at the top.
You think this does?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a relationship shown in the drawing, that there are several elements bundled together.
Here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then here's the splash, hills and valleys. Okay, so using that, so I would have written a bunch of this stuff down, and then you come up and you put a confidence ranking here based on TARG. So what do we think we want to give as a confidence ranking for that one, which is the first one we looked at?
I would give it a 5. The matchable elements are not exactly unambiguous, but taken together, they seem to be unambiguous to me.
Okay, and what about some of the rest of you? In fact, you know what? Forcing yourself to commit is really a good idea, because as a judge, that is ultimately what you have to do. You need to commit. Why don't you put down, in fact, in some ways it's good to put it down, and maybe we shouldn't share, so it's independent. I had never thought about that. That's an idea. In the chat box, do you see how to enter things in the chat box? Put in your numbers. Well, it is being shared, but that's okay. Let me see what your numbers are. I'd like each of you to put in a number in the chat box. You give that a 7, Deborah? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at every element, I didn't see anything on there that was wrong. I mean, maybe he said bundled stacked logs.
Okay, that's good.
I mean,
You're
maybe it's not log. He had some AOLs, but because he marked it in AOL, I wouldn't say that it's wrong. So if you take all this together, I would say it's pretty close.
That's great. Okay, how about the
I do
Nathan,
want
you would call it?
comment on that, though, that if we're using the TARG scale, that it includes analytical detail, including naming the target. And that's just, if we're going to use this as a way to approach how we're going to do our judging, I think it's important to point that out, too.
Okay. Okay, now, why did you say 3.5, Nathan?
Well, as I look at it, there's a whole bunch of commonalities. I mean, what looks like little droplets at the top going down into the bottom, that definitely looks like penguins.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't get the fact that it was animals. It's just little shapes. But they're definitely the right shape, and they definitely got water. And most of the things seem like they were correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct description of the site. There's a couple things that are not, but for the most part, everything's there. Like the logs. If you look at them, I guess you might say they kind of look like logs, but so
Yeah.
a little different. But for the most part, it seems pretty good. It would be a lot better if the ID did as animals, or even better if they ID as penguins.
Okay. Well, what you're showing, Nathan, is the variability we can see. I mean, we went from 3.5 to 7, but even 3.5 to 5. What I found is after people get a lot of experience in this, typically there's a difference of about 1, but that's like, that happens relatively often. If we were to have 5 or 6 people do this independently, I think what you'd find is a mean difference of 1 and then larger variations like we're seeing here. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, I would give this something between a 4 and a 5, just because it didn't get into the analytics. So, you guys are really basically right around those kind of numbers. So let's write that down for this one as a 4.5, and let's go to the next one, we have to get through a bunch of these, and I really need to go today. So, okay, so the next one is, I'm just doing these in order. This one is Gerald. See, and after a while you get to kind of know the picture. And his camera messed up, so all he gave us, can give us, is this, which says a large black-gray picture in the right foreground is what I first took to be a large orange and yellow flower. That's interesting. Oh, a largely black-gray. Okay, but I also had the impression of a fire or explosion. Definitely bright orange, red, and yellow colors against a black-gray background. Okay. So what do you think?
2.5.
Here I can see black. Maybe I'll even give him gray. Go ahead. What's some more of you say? Go ahead. Put them in the chat box. Commit. I like this.
Probably give it a 2 or a 1.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole the idea of flower, I don't know how it gets that. I'm probably going to go with a 2 as well.
Yep. And I would probably go with either something like a 2 or a 1.5. So we're all on the same wavelength. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is Malcolm. So here's Malcolm's. Okay. Now he's got a big one. This is one of the reasons also you like to write, or I like, and I recommend to judges that they write things down, because when you have like a 5-pager like this, you know, sometimes you forget, you want reminders of what was going on when you do the whole group judging, because remember, we're going through several of these, and then we're going to go through these for the other coordinate as well. So let me make sure you can see this. So here he's got a 5-pager. Let's go to the top page. And here
I'm looking first at his gestalts. In his first gestalt is structure, which indicates the iceberg there, and the second gestalt is liquid. So he seems to be spot on right away with his gestalts.
Yes, well, right. And I'm starting, and I unfortunately I had it on page 5, which must have been where I said it. So let's go through in order this time, okay? But you're still right. There's structure. You got that. Also, he's got an AOL of a boat, which is certainly water-like, but not.
Well, don't you think, though, that there's probably someone in a boat taking pictures?
That is universally to be ignored. Tell that to viewers. I tell that to everybody, because if you start getting into that, then there's always a person. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that is so universal that you don't want the viewers to be even talking about that. If it's not in the picture, at least that's my attitude. You know, that's opinion. As opposed to a person, you're now saying, well, there's probably a boat here, but I don't know that there isn't another iceberg over here. I would ignore the person who's taking the picture from it always, Deborah. That's my opinion. But I understood what you said. Okay.
Working backwards from the AOL, if you want to extract AOL information, a horse is a biological. It's just a factor to consider in the back of one's head.
Right. And this is why, you know, there are other approaches where they'd have to make a decision, is that a match or not? They would make it. The way I do it is you integrate it in. I would say, yes, the boat, the connection I make is water. horse, animal, but those are pretty low level.
Yes.
Those are pretty low level.
Right.
So you're not going to give it a lot of, and even structure is low level
Yes.
because usually it means, you know, a man-made, but it doesn't have to. I mean, this is a structure of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he got structure again. You look at this sketch.
Marty, you just had a previous picture of the structure. You were on page. We didn't go through this. The one that you're looking at now, manipulated.
Yeah, right. This picture.
Right. I think that's worthy of attention.
Okay, good. Anybody else? What do you see? Like splashing?
I see that the structure, the sketch, has an equivalency to that structure, and I'm just looking at how he described it, and there are several. I would say maybe half of them anyway apply to that structure.
Manipulated.
Grown over, shadowed, picturesque, shiny, waved, sharp, and planted seem to be descriptors for that structure.
Okay. Okay. And this is what you do in judging. I don't see it quite as strong, but this is just what you do as a judge. That's fine.
Mm.
Structure. I do see water here. Track or bridge over water. That's what he sees this. But that's not too bad. This sort of looks like a bridge. That's actually acidic traffic. Penguin traffic. Okay, pinchy, chewy, vibrant, explosive.
Explosive could be the splashing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Vibrant is a match.
Mm-hmm.
Desolate is a match.
Okay. You see, and another thing that happens over time, you set up your own style, if you will, of how you match these things and your level of how good you feel about it, which all then leads to the confidence ranking that you give it. And everybody's a little different. Some people probably regularly will rank higher than the others. But then remember, ultimately you get your feedback from the events, and you can keep learning. The judges are learning, as are the remote viewers. And ultimately, that's the beautiful part about all forms of ARB. You get your feedback, and both in the picture, but also with the outcome of the event. Okay, so we're looking at this moving outcrop. Good, moving. Some of you writing, I hope, you know, again, I'd be writing a lot of these down, the ones that I certainly like. Outcrop, moving.
Picturesque, pretty.
Picturesque. Liquid. Did I skip a page? No. Okay, so here's the last page. Now, the other thing you have to take into account, with 5 pages, you expect to get more matches. So you have to also keep in mind this idea of how strong they are versus what they didn't get, which someone brought up earlier as well. So all that appropriately, I think, does come in.
It's interesting to me when he does do his summary that he is actually naming
Land.
He's not exactly naming the target, but he's naming the basic solid gestalt of the target.
Okay, one other thing which I want to say here is the first one we had was a very good one, but when you judge this one, you really need to judge it independently. In other words, not already get in your mind, aha, this must be the one. Because I have often seen the other one, we may get 2 5s and a 6. You have to kind of throw away everything you've learned from the previous one and look at this one by itself. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not saying you're doing that. I just wanted to make that really important point about judging, is this needs to be judged independently, forgetting about the other ones. At the end, you're going to integrate them all together. But at this point, remember, this viewer is doing this totally on his own. Got boat again. It's interesting, it comes up with chess. And I can almost see chess black and white pieces, but that's just unusual. And then water.
Water.
Okay. Explosive. Yeah.
Even that drawing, while it's rough, it does really have the elements, something up high, going downward, the general shape.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one, I was going to say I really like sketches because those are non-analytical. You know, if a person got an image, it came from the subconscious. This is as close to a good sketch. And see, this is something, yeah, you know, you could see what he meant by structure, but definitely have something going down into water. Okay, so how would we rank this one?
I gave it a 4.
Okay, and this is Malcolm. Go ahead, let's see what the rest of you do. Come on, judges, you got to get yourself to commit. I know, and sometimes it's really hard. And wait till we get to the group level.
I'm a little bit between 3.5 and 4, but I'm going to go with 4 because I like the way he's got relationships.
Yep. Anybody else?
Anybody else? 4 or 5?
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, 4.
Okay. I'm going to say as a group, and I do this sometimes, and I want you to know I might go back. This process takes a while. Even here you can see how long it's taking. And even when you're by yourself and you've got them in front of you and you're circling them, I'll sometimes go back. In fact, I often go back. So I'm going to call this a 3.75. I would wager on it, but I'm not quite sure it was up to a 4. I got a lot of the same thing over and over. Anyway, that was my opinion. The next guy is Russ. Okay. Now he has one page. I think you know the picture well enough here. Let's just look at his page. You got the picture? So let's read it out loud here. First of all, I do like to look at sketches first. I'm big on sketches. This, you know, I really want you guys to put things out. What do you see? I mean, I see something down here that maybe looks like falling into water, but it's a maybe. I don't know if you see it stronger than that.
What is that first word? Is it subterranean or
Okay, this says rocky content, and that is one of the problems. I wish I could read people's handwriting. Or ram. Is this the word you're asking about? Because I don't know what that is. Aroma. Oh, one thing he does. Dramatic. Very good. Dramatic content. Okay, he got an AI.
Dramatic is
very good. Dramatic. Excellent. Now, one thing I note about him, I've seen his work once before, is he works like from the bottom up. So, like dimensions, he's got verticals here, diagonals, oval, arches, spiral, slapping, or slapping.
He has the words birds. He has birds here.
Yeah, watery. He's got the sounds of birds and blending and changing and rattling and rhythmic,
sheer,
dripping.
smells, swampy, chemical, fresh, watery. Watery, of course, is good. Steely, soda, hamburger. Sounds, yes, birds, blending, clanging, rhythmic, dripping, rocky, chainy, textures, greasy. Okay, what do you think that word is?
He does have black and gray and
Soft, rough,
some of the
brittle,
colors.
grating, sandy colors, green, glossy, life, gray, black, yellow. Yeah, but he's got a lot of other colors which are off,
Do
dabbled.
penguins have like a slippery, kind of greasy, their texture of their skin is, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. We need to pet a penguin so we know how they feel.
I actually swim with a penguin once.
Okay, let's,
I was impressed with.
I like
so,
the session a lot, and I like the sketches very much. And
you like the sketches because of the feeling of falling, huh?
well, the number sketch titled 3, to me, appears to be the structure. And then the other sketch appears to be the movement, the falling into water, the sliding down. One is like the sliding down into water.
Okay, what do some of the rest of you think? And remember, do not be talked into anything by anybody. You are an independent judge. That's very important.
Well, I think the sketches, they kind of have that sort of random fractal-ish feel that those icebergs or whatever have. They're kind of rough and pointy. And
Okay.
There's some correspondence, but it is ambiguous, I would say.
Okay, so how would you guys judge it? Go ahead, put in your confidence rankings.
Was that his only page? Did he
Yep,
have another
he's
page?
got, oh, let me look. You know what? I think he might have 2. You're right. There was a follow-up. He does this, which he calls 4.
Right.
Man-made, totem, and maybe, again, the vagueness of whether or not that's the ice or not. Okay, so you've got stuff down on paper compared to this. What confidence rank you want to give it?
I'd say a 3.
Okay.
3 or 3.5.
Okay, and others? Glenn, was that your 2 for the last one, or have you given it something this time?
2 this time.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, very good. I say very good only because my point is being made on how different judges can see things quite differently. Yeah, let me just see if I'm willing to see. I'll tell you what I would have done on this on my own. Let me get rid of this one.
Marty, can I ask you a question?
Sure, please. In fact, that's what I'd like.
Well, knowing CRV and I know Russ is learning CRV, and like Lynn Buchanan makes it very clear that in the first part of your session, when you're first listing your words, many times those are not going to be ultimately what you summarize at the end of your session are valid. It's kind of like the first couple pages tend to have a ton of errors, and as a viewer you're not supposed to worry about it. So as a judge, some people, obviously Chris, in the first session he was not using that process, but for people who are using it, would you take that into I would take that into consideration, really. I would think that, maybe a long list of words that I'm not going to be that worried if there's wrong words in there as long as there's right words.
Yeah, I understand your point, and that, especially for CRVers, because they're sort of, that's in their minds, do it. But the other part of that is I find very often that the very first things that come in have a lot of right information. So I look carefully at the very first things that are put in, but I don't know, it gets down to this percentage. I do pay more attention to the things which are right, especially when they're very right, than I do the ones that are wrong, whether they come in the beginning or the end. So you do get a feeling for this, but I understood what you said, Deborah, and that's a factor. I agree. Okay, so judges come up with their own intuition. Ultimately, this is very intellectual and intuitive. It is a really beautiful combination of both, because you're always making the judgment, how strong is this match, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, well, we had one. If I were to give this, I'd probably give it a 3. And we had some which there was a 2.5 and there was a 4. So I think what I'll put here, I'm trying to put here sort of our collective wisdom. I'll put it down as a 3.25. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is the last one of this set, which is Tom. Okay, so I think we know the picture well enough, but we'll go back to it if anybody wants to see it. People nearby, being displayed, the sketch, maybe the side of the ice, packed thickly together.
That describes the penguins.
Bundled, straw-colored, golden, sheaf, wheat fields, painting in an open space outdoors. Okay, and down here, this is stuff he keeps, how he feels personally. He keeps track of this. He's working on correlations with how well he does with other factors. So that's not a function of, that'll affect us. Okay. Packed thickly together in an open space outdoors.
Well, the penguins are packed together outdoors.
So you give that some credit.
And he could have mistaken the penguins for people, but
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
in fact, when I put this target in here, I had thought of that. And let me say this: we are leaning over a bit, and here's another place where this judgment comes in. You know, in the words that we're using, we are leaning over a bit to make the matches, and depending on how we feel about how much we're leaning over is also part of what we're doing as judges. And I think that's right, because if this turns out to be the IPS that comes up and you didn't do that, you'd, I don't know, feel like you missed something. But you just have to get a sense of how far are you leaning over, and that ultimately comes together in what confidence ranking you gave. But I believe it's absolutely, the words everybody is using are just right. That could be packed. This could be the side. But you don't really know. If it turns out to be the other picture, you'd say, oh no, you know, his wild card could have been something entirely different, and he might get a 7 on his wild card because it might be packed in a different way, and this might be the lines. You understand the point I'm making? We don't know yet if that's the right one or not. And so.
what is Bruegel painting? Do you know what he's referring to there?
It's the artist Bruegel.
Yes, that's what it's. Yeah.
What kind of artwork did he do?
People, I think, colorful and people. I think he might have been a Dutch painter. And that would be, I suppose, whereas the judger, you might want to Google.
That's what I was going to do. Was it Brugger?
Bruegel, I think.
No. No. Ale.
Peter Bruegel, that's it. Yeah, very colorful and.
Okay, so these are examples. Yeah. If you did one of a, yeah, so when he said people and stuff, this is probably the kind of thing he was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean his subconscious didn't filter. Okay, how are we going to judge this, folks?
I gave it a 3.5 because I've seen Tom's stuff before, and
okay.
I think that he has some.
The rest of you?
Mixture of correct and incorrect, but he made some contact with the target.
How about some of the rest of you?
Probably give it a
2.5, 3. Okay. No. I don't think I could go 3.5 ever. I wouldn't wager on this. So I see 2.5. Anybody go lower than that?
Do you think
I'd give it a 2.
You'd give it a 2? Yeah, I would
Do you
probably.
think he's made site contact, Marty?
I'm not sure. No.
Yep. Okay. Gotcha.
There are too many words which could be something else as easily as this, and I understand again, but I think they're too much stretch-wise. I'd probably give this a 2.5. But others gave it higher, so I'm going to give it a 2.75. Then some gave lower.
I like the
revised
open.
mine to 3.
Well, you see, you're allowing people to talk you into it. And remember, usually you're a judge on your own. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Someone else said something.
He didn't even have water, did he?
I don't think he mentioned water at all.
I like the open space outdoors together element. That sort of told me something.
Yeah.
Not sure what.
Well, no. I mean, that's why I think it's more than random, and he might very well have been picking up something. But again, this is the judge. You're getting exactly what you're supposed to be getting from here. Is the judging has these ambiguities in most sessions. Every now and then you get some that are 5s and 6s. That 4.5 one that we did, Chris's, was a nice strong one. They weren't as hard. These are harder, in my opinion. Okay. Okay, so we finished these, and now let's go. I just simply copy this because these turn out to be in the same order. Now we're looking at this picture. Very different. And let's do Chris first, just because he comes up first. This stuff is pretty clear. We can probably read it all like this. Okay, let me see if we haven't seen this picture. Okay, good, that works. Structure, man-made, life form. Yes. Heavy, bold, still. Yellow, golden, white, marbled, chiseled. Rowboat, interesting. AOL, building cylinders. Monument columns, memorialized granite-like stony pyramids, strategically placed, a bundle of sticks, prison-like. Policing, is that policing? Cage bars, lines, intersection, lines running, place, washes, sitting strong, austerity. Authority, dominant, control, Lincoln, bearded figure. Okay.
He does have some, he goes all the way up from basic descriptors to almost to the function of the target, because
Yeah.
the function of the target, this is the town square, the seat of authority, and he's describing the buildings that are in this seat of authority.
Okay, and what about the rest of you? What are your feelings?
Yeah, I agree. And his sketches correspond. There's a lot of, this is very corresponding.
Others?
Yeah, I think it looks pretty solid to me.
Yeah.
Even his,
Yes, I don't.
even his AOL of rowboat, I mean, there is water off in the distance, but that would be the only thing that really stands out. I mean, I wouldn't really say that could be an error, but there's not too many other errors in here.
Well, it's interesting. He says prison-like because of this, but that could be what's going on down here. Not clear.
Anyone still here?
Go ahead. What was that? I'm sorry. Someone else. I heard someone, but I don't know who it was. I'd like to have everybody jump in. Okay.
I could even see the prison-like type of buildings, what he's talking about there.
You can't see that.
Yeah, because, you know, the concrete, there's a whole bunch, just the shape.
I also like the two. One of the things which I often look for is there's two very dominant things here. And he's got two. Now he sees them as cylinders, maybe. Again, we don't know this is the right one. And so, you know, he's describing his feedback. If he saw his feedback, maybe his subconscious did this. Okay, let's jump. What would we give it?
I give it a 6.
The rest of you?
Yeah, I'd give it a 6.
4.5, 6, 4.5. Yeah, okay. My opinion, and you have to recognize judging has a lot of opinion, is a 6 is too high. I don't see enough analytical there. Again, this is opinion. But how much of unambiguous matchable? I see a lot of matches. I mean, from the very beginning, a lot of matches. Building, stuff like that. But the problem with that's... Go ahead.
Sorry, Martin. I was going to say, if that building bottom left has actually got columns on the side of the doorway, if you can see that, what I mean,
here,
then I would score it higher. But it's too far away to see. Because that sketch, the second one down, that would be very good if that's columns either side of the doorway.
Yeah, see that, right? That's another interpretation. And of course, his subconscious is trying to take all of that into account. But you see, for me, building, while it's an unambiguous match, is what I'd call a weak, unambiguous match. You know, we've all seen examples of beautiful, unambiguous matches, and I don't put that in it. So I would give this like a 4.5. And I would say the consensus is probably something like a 5. Okay, so I'm going to put a 5 down here, and you understand, Chris, the 5, all those qualifiers. Let's go to the next one. Here's Gerald. Remember, he was the one with the words, all he had. A view of a small airplane, face on, up close, and a good view of the nose, cowling, and propeller. What do you think? Could you have gotten that from here?
0.
Others?
Any correspondence?
0. Okay. Others? Other comments? Go ahead, judges.
I don't know. Those peaks on the building could be kind of airplane shaped, but it's a real weak.
Yeah. And you realize at this level, you don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. I mean, we're not going to argue about 0 versus 1. And I have been known to give 0.5s. So, okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this is Malcolm. I think we can get him at least 75%. Okay, oh, and this is, again, he's got 5 of them. So let's start at the beginning. And, okay. I think that's about the best I can do, and have you see both.
Well,
Okay,
he
so
has the
just,
gestalt, which is
I'm
the
still not,
structure.
wait, I'm still not happy with the way this looks. I'm sorry. Let me move this over more. You know, again, when you're doing this on your own, you've got the picture in front of you, you've got this, though after a while you do get to know this well enough. Okay. So, pyramid, that's an AOL. Hard structure, you got that right away. Physical, labored, sharp angle, oblique.
It's also got towered.
A mosque. Did I miss towered? Where? Oh yeah, up here.
Top.
Okay, yep. This is not a mosque, but this must be a church of some sort.
I think that word might be radio towery, and I can see where he might get that from.
Radiometry, interesting. Again, you're saying because this might look like it's
Sort of a radio tower.
to pick up.
It's very vague. Yeah.
Right, and perfect. And that's the way we do that. Yeah, maybe. And you factor that in. I know the CRVers, and Deborah and others have studied that. They make check marks, and they'll do percentages. And I'm hoping somebody will do that, because they then are forced on element by element to say, yes, that's a match, no, that's not a match, to get a clear percentage. So the vagueness are taken in element by element with a yes or no. And I think it would be very interesting to see, again, over the long haul. All of this only matters, after you've done many tens of these, to see it may be better than the way I'm doing it here. Nothing saying that we're perfect. In fact, we know we're not perfect. Okay, so I'm on page 2 now. Oop.
You know what? I just looked it up, and it looks like there are mosques in the city center of Prague, and he had mosque.
Yeah, but he, as a feedbacker, goes to this time and place when this was taken, and his job is to describe what's here, though there may very well be a mosque here. Anyway, take that into account. Deborah. You know, when you're judging, I understood what you said. And viewers, subconscious, do have sort of minds of their own. So, okay, structure again, hollow, par, cold, damp. What is that? Rot? I hate it when I can't read words, but occasionally if I think it's critical, I'll call up the person, but that's very occasional, just because my time element, I only have so much time.
What's the word above rot? Is that actually orange or no?
Yeah.
Strange. Orange?
Well, no, there are too many letters in front.
Yeah, okay.
Estrange, or maybe strange. It's strange. I don't know. You know, and you have to decide if you were a judge if you wanted to call up on all these or not. But I'm just telling you what I do. So if you view for me, and a lot of people do this, especially if they know their handwriting or I'm not going to read it, they go back and, you know, print it or something so it's clearer. Twisted, moved, pyramid. That's interesting. Okay. Energy. I don't know what that word is. Teague? Tear? Not sure.
Fear.
Fear. Very good. Temple.
I can see how the viewer is going in the castle building here.
Mm-hmm. Rusty, chanting, engraving, lost, clear sky, salty, gritty, ragged, stepped. I don't know what that says. Bellwether? Maybe. Nice, desert. Here's 4. Powerful, high, vertical, sloped, engraved, blocked, shepherded, caged, wide, angular, eyes. Okay, and here's his summary. Target is a desert location with little no life, old structure like old crumbled. You see, now this is an example, Deborah, getting back to one of your points, where at least reading that as a summary, this is weaker in my mind to stuff I've seen earlier. Mm-hmm. And I would not discount what happened earlier because of this. You know, his subconscious was giving him information before. So as a judge, I don't, you know, I love to see lots of good stuff in the summary, don't get me wrong, but if I don't discount what happened earlier. That's at least my style.
That's an interesting sketch in the lower right-hand corner.
Yep. Oh, yeah, this potentially being that. And then this shape, even though we didn't get 2 of them. Mm-hmm.
But even the one under it, which shows buildings clustered together.
I agree. And now he's putting, I don't know if this is copying from before. Is that typical, Deborah, in CRV? I don't remember that from my training. Did he bring this?
This is not a summary. I mean, this, I don't know if did he call it a summary? Because in CRV, this would not be the summary. This is still kind of like and he's saying S2. So S2 is stage 2. That's still the very beginning of the CRV. It looks like he copied.
He might have copied them over. He did call this summary, and it looks like
he calls it S2.
He's pulling out the ones that he.
No, here he called it S2, but up here he said summary.
Oh, target is a desert with little to no life.
That's what I was. Right. Yeah. That's what I was saying was not as good as everything else, nor as good as what's down here. Okay. Yeah. It looks like these came from before. He may have been copying. Yeah. Let's see if there's anything new here.
And that's the other thing with people who do CR, even
It's
if they're trained in CRV, they're not necessarily staying in their structure
strange.
either.
Well, and that's right. And I certainly don't require it. And, you know, people that are doing, you know, say 2 of these a week tend to shorten them, and I have no problem with that. They have to do what they feel most comfortable doing. However, other judges may say, in fact, I'd love a CRV group to start, hint, hint, where it's CRV all the way, you know, and the judge judges it all the way. The CRVers get practice with full sessions, and the judge gets practice, plus the wild cards could be on missing persons. They could be on other issues that are put out to the CRVers, and the CRVer won't know which is which, so they do both. I mean, I think this has got so much more potential than is being used so far. Anyway, let's just do this. Slope, vertical, high, salty. Okay, I don't see anything different here. Okay, let's judge, start putting your stuff down. What do you think? We're at Malcolm now. Okay. Nathan, was that a new one? And Deborah, a 0 and a 1? Am I reading that right, or is that old ones?
That was old. I'd say a 4.
Okay. And Nathan, that must have been your last one. Okay. 3.5, 4, 3, 4. Nathan, a 3. Okay. And I would probably give this something like a 3.5, and that's a pretty good average of what you guys have done. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let's go to Russ. Oh yeah, that's the second page. Okay. I feel we see the picture, we can go back and look at it, but I think we know it now well enough. I'm looking at the picture, a lot of roundish stuff. Let me just go back. I don't see a lot of roundish stuff for the picture. A top view or something. Maybe this. You guys should be talking more than me. Go ahead, tell me, what do you think of these sketches first?
The sketches aren't too great.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of commonalities there.
Yeah.
Agreed, I don't either.
Unless they're down here. That's the only place I see anything roundish. Okay, so let's look at the words now. I see voices.
Here's the word stony. Stony.
Nervous, motion, looping, empty, thin, outside, ovals. Okay, so that fits with this. There were some ovals in the bottom, sort of, not closed. Tiny, diagonals.
He has a structure that's stone,
Right.
glass, iron,
wood. Look at this picture just because I did it. Tastes, stony, sweet, meaty, humid, frigid, rattling, metallic, dripping, loudness, humming, popping, voices, dirt, oily, grassy. Bio,
not a lot.
gold, colors, swirly, textures, blonde, brittle, grain, velvety, glassy.
So many are ambiguous, and I'm not convinced exactly that there was site contact with this particular
one. Yeah. Okay, so let's.
It's just very difficult to tell if
Yeah.
it was site contact.
I agree. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's judge. Go ahead, put in some of your numbers. 5, 1. Okay, yeah, I sort of agree too. We'll just make that a 1. I mean, there were some. It's definitely not a 0, but it did look even less than chance. And then let's do Tom. I guess I can close these. And now here is Tom. Well, his mountain peak might be a little bit like that. Large triangular looming in the dark mountain peak. Doesn't seem to matter. I wonder what that means. In the dark doesn't seem to matter. And that may have come into his subconscious like that, and he wrote it down, which of course is the right thing to do. Nothing down here.
I think it's just chance expectation.
Okay, and what about
results are not beyond chance expectation?
Mountain peak?
I'd give him a little credit for large looming, the triangular shape, but I wouldn't give him more than I mean, probably 2 would be generous.
Yeah. Well, I feel comfortable with a 2. You know, when a person puts very little, you need to take into account how much of it is right on. I mean, large is right on. Triangular is right on. I mean, you know, he may have focused in right here. Looming is right on. I don't know what in the dark meant. That's not, unless he was referring to this. And this I don't know. And this sketch
Well,
could be this. So no, I would. I don't know. I don't think I'd feel even comfortable going to a 3, but I wouldn't have any problem with a 2.5. What about the rest of you? Joni, is that a new 2?
I had a 2.
Yeah, Deborah's a 2.
Also because you've got that doesn't seem to matter.
Okay, Glenn a 1.5. Okay, let's give it a 2.
Actually, if you did score this CRV-wise, it would probably be an 80%.
Exactly. That's the problem.
But the intuitive in me says
a 2.
that there really wasn't sight contact beyond chance.
Right. But this is where the judge's problem comes in. This is why you have to test it over time. That's why I'd love the CRV approach to be used uniformly and give that an 80% and give it a high score and see how it works over the long term. We'll learn something about it just this time around.
Right.
You know, by depending on what the outcome is, because he's going to get either this picture back or the other. Okay, now, kind of interesting that Chris, and I don't like when this happens, when the same person gets 2 high ones, what do you do?
Yeah,
Tough to know.
That sounds like a red flag.
And
You do get both of them.
Right, because he may have been looking at our time right now, knowing there was a webinar. Somehow his subconscious decided to peek here, because he is never in his emails ever going to see both of these. He's going to get one or the other.
And Malcolm was also pretty consistent.
Malcolm, yep, was pretty consistent. Russ was not, nor Tom, but they were on the lower end. Okay, now the one thing we haven't done is bleed-throughs. So let's now quickly, and this nothing hit us over the head. Having seen these, very often something will just grab you. Like while we were doing this, there might have been a lot about motion, action, water, something like that. We didn't respond like that. So that already tells us something. But nevertheless, I always like to look for bleed through because you might miss it. Plus, it gives me another opportunity to look at the transcripts. So what I'm going to do now is go through the 3440201s again quickly. And now we're looking for bleed through here. That's our primary objective. But, you know, all of us multitask. So can you interpret any of this like that? So, you know, who knows? First thing, that almost looks like the tower at the top. It's certainly not strong enough, not that I would even mark it as bleed through. But notice that's how my mind went, looking now for bleed through of the other one. And that's what's important for this class, for this webinar, is for you to understand at least the process I go through so then you can build on it. But that's not strong enough that I'd mark that as bleed through. Let's
So,
look.
Chris, I would say no significant bleed through.
Right, right. And a large orange yellow flower. Fire explosion. Okay, so I don't see anything here that hits you over the head. Bleed through by definition is strong. That word, you know, when you see a bleed through, it's strong. So that
There
one,
is some orange. There's a little bit of bleed through.
But yeah,
maybe, but that could be random too. Well, actually, there's a lot of orange. Okay, I would note that. There's a lot of orange. In
Yeah,
fact, okay, you're right.
because he does have that orange.
And here's
there
what
a
I
lot.
do, just so you know. BT, orange. Okay, that's it. So that's what you do. Let's see if Malcolm. See, now we have the structure, which now gets interpreted more as a structure. But let's look at his. But structure alone is not strong enough. Does he have anything else? See, the ladder doesn't have any new meaning. I mean, I've seen things where the other picture has like a discrete ladder in it. That would be a bleed through. Well, you saw examples. But do I see anything here? Building, but back to structure. You know, already we're in a position where we say one or the other of these is not very strong. Very often when one's strong, I use a bleed through for confirmation on the other side. But in this
it
case,
looks like a house.
yep. Again, the structure part of it, you would now interpret this as potential bleed through.
I think
Traffic.
it's minimal bleed through, but not significant.
Traffic so far, yeah. I don't suppose there are any ladders or anything like that here. You know, there are these lines. But nothing major. Yeah, okay. Let's look at Russ's. Now we're looking for bleed through. See, these pictures could be the spires, maybe. Maybe not. Again, not super strong. Green.
I don't see anything.
Dripping.
Is steely.
Yeah, see, stuff may be at the random level.
At the random, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are some matches, which isn't, again, surprising, and you realize that pretty soon as a judge. And then let's see, Tom. Yeah, no.
Well, that actually does look like a Bruegel painting in a way.
Well, central in an open space, outdoors, all of that matches the square. People matches the square.
Yeah.
Packed thickly together, bundled, straw colored. You can see how so many words, unfortunately, can match more than one picture. And those two IPSs were very different.
Yeah.
But that means, yeah, okay, well, not a whole lot. And then we have to do the same thing the other way. So now Let's see if there are any bleed-throughs on these people, but now we're looking for anything to give support for this side. So that's the picture we're trying to match, but we're doing 575 now. So this is Chris's on the
Maddie, I have a question on
Sure.
where you put your bleed through. You applied the orange bleed through to the penguin. Shouldn't that be applying to the one below?
It does. The fact I call it bleed through, I do it here because it was on his transcript, but I
Right.
know it's bleed through going to here, and
Okay.
I could see where another judge would decide to do it differently.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But,
All
you know, it's whatever method I set up that I felt comfortable
right.
with.
Okay.
And I
get that.
started
I
that.
understand that. Instinctually, I would probably do it the other way.
Yeah,
but
and
that's
if
okay.
you were a judge, that's how you should do it. You should
Yep.
do it the way that feels comfortable for you.
I got you.
Okay.
I'd say rowboat could be bleed through.
Absolutely.
Is AOL.
Yep. Rowboat. Anything else? Yeah, but, you know, is that enough? Mark it. Let's mark it. But
He has white.
It's not really
yeah, that's
strong.
Yeah, white is. It's hard to find a picture without white.
Yeah, I
White and
think
black are like that.
minimal bleed through, very
Right.
not significant.
Right. In fact, often I'll do this too. I'll put it, but is it strong enough? Orange may even be stronger than rowboat. Just because I'm looking at this, there's a lot of orange. Rowboat indicates the water, whether I'd want to call it a bleed through. So I put a question. Again, this is for you as the judge, all to help you to come up with the group CRs. So, you know, you shouldn't feel you're going to be judged by anybody else. This is for you.
Because even that shape of the whole iceberg right there is the exact shape of a rowboat.
Okay. Okay.
Or a boat. Maybe not a rowboat. Well, I don't know.
I understand. And Deborah, this is perfect. No two judges will see everything exactly the same. And that doesn't mean that they can't both be very good judges. So.
The challenging thing about this is, like, I might feel strongly 1 minute and then I go back 10 minutes later and, like, I could argue the opposite position. It's almost like every time you look at it, you might, if you just shift your perspective, you could see it very differently.
That is an excellent point, and I very often go away and come back and will rejudge them. You know, the second time goes much faster, but I'll look at the key words. I'll look and see if there's other things which I might have missed that might support it, especially based on like an interpretation, or look for a different meaning. So your point is well taken. And you're appreciating judging, which is the whole purpose of what we're doing here. You know? Okay, so a small airplane, I don't see anything that has to do here. Good.
I do.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
If I look at that as an AOL, that looks to me like that penguin. The nose, the propeller.
Oh yeah,
Oh, here?
looks like an airplane.
It looks to me like an airplane from a distance.
A view of a small airplane. You see? I love it.
Good view of the nose. What is
Face
cowling? But the propellers, I mean, that's the flaps of the penguin.
I see. I agree.
All airplane face on. That's a real bleed through to me.
Yeah, the wings look like propellers, don't they? Just one propeller. Yeah.
I do this occasionally too. I'll take a whole piece. Who are we up to? Is that Malcolm?
Who was that, Gerald?
Oh, let me see who that was. That was Gerald, yeah. And I will take a whole piece and put quotation marks around it just to show this is exactly what he said.
Oh, and the fact that he got a 0.5 for his actual session.
Right. That
Exactly.
that adds a little strength to it. See, and that's going to come into the judging of when we come up with the group judging there. What is cowling? Interview.
You know, it's interesting how like your psychicness is also working. Like just as soon as I saw that, I went, "Oh my God!" You know, it's just a weird thing as you're getting to know yourself better too.
Okay. Okay, let's go on. No, very nice. Yeah, I missed that, but that
That's
belongs.
okay.
That belongs there. And of course that's okay. And now let's do Malcolm. So that was Gerald, right? Yeah. So now here's Malcolm. Let's see what he did with the penguins. Oh, and he's the 5-pager. So let's start at the top. Pyramid, mosque.
Sharp angles, yes. Physical, yes.
Park.
Cold,
Now,
yes.
also doing
Damp,
this
yes.
is a good way to understand what random is.
Energy, yes. I'm seeing some bleed-throughs here. Damp,
There was wave in there as well, I think.
It's even salty, if it's ocean.
It doesn't really hit me over the
But-
head, though.
No, exactly.
why?
Again, he has so many words.
Oh,
Did he say all-powerful?
Target is a desert.
I don't see any.
He's got energy high.
All powerful. High, vertical.
And
Yeah.
he's
Okay,
got
well,
eyes.
we
I
all
wonder if
saw
there's-
this. I sometimes just put this. I think it's minor. If I were to put together an AJ summary, I just don't see enough that I'd put that in. Now, maybe some of you would. And you remember that when we come up with the group. Okay, this is Russ. This is the penguin now for bleed through. I mean, I guess this looks like water. Maybe. This could be interpreted at the side. See, you can see when you're in the vague area. That's why you like those 5s. But sometimes you get enough pieces that the pieces give you a 5.
I like the sketches on this for bleed-through. I like the voices, the popping, the humming, the loudness, the dripping, the
Oh,
rattling,
yeah. Oily would be good.
the sounds at the site.
I mean, I'd say the sketches, in my opinion, are sort of okay. I mean, I have a hint, but it doesn't hit you over the head as being right on, at least me.
It's wet,
Oh, right.
bulbous, smooth, soaked,
Right. Right.
bulbous.
Bulbous.
Yeah.
Penguins, I suppose, are a bit bulbous.
Also, that
They're
rowboat
fluffy.
area.
They are fluffy. And they're velvety.
Mm.
The blue is in there. The patterned is in there.
Is that fleshy?
Bio.
Oh, flesh.
X.
Yeah.
Fleshy. Yeah. Smells stale. Grassy, oily. Yeah, we talked about that.
And the tastes, let me see.
Meaty.
Tastes meaty. Well, they're probably eating.
Well, they're meaty themselves. I know walruses or some other animals consider them a meal. Okay.
I kind of feel
Swirly, blurred.
it's
block
ambiguous,
wavy.
but I do feel pretty good about the bleed-through.
Yeah, maybe minor, I guess.
Yeah.
At least minor.
Well, I agree. No, I mean, interesting. Huh? You guys are getting a interesting, interesting. See, I'm always also looking ahead to how I would put together the summary. And, I can do it with a bunch of minors, but it's a lot harder. And there have been a lot of cases, did he get any bleed through? No. Where the person will have both a good score and a bleed through. So, okay, and then let's look at Tom. Oops, I lost my page here. Let's look at Tom. God, it's 9 o'clock. I don't know. You can see how it does take a while, though it's taking longer because of many of us. But okay, we're doing a bleed through on the penguins.
Well, the fact that he's
Triangle.
and he's also got the squiggly line. That's like some of that ice is under the water,
Mm.
and only the top is sticking up. A glacier or an iceberg
It is large.
is a mountain peak. It is a peak. And part of it is in the dark. The underneath part is in the dark.
Is that all you had?
That's it. Yeah, he always gives me one page. Usually he puts more than this on it, but that's all he had here.
On its side, it is.
I'd say it's a
seem to
bleed through.
That's really marginal in my opinion. I understand the connection with the eye. So there is a giant one here.
And there's a triangle. That's the shape of a triangle if you look at it sideways.
Here, well, plus all of their noses are triangles. Their propellers.
It's definitely looming. It's large. It's triangular.
Okay,
The
I will
underneath
put,
is in the
okay, so let's put another BT. I'm going to put very minor. But that's my opinion. You may think differently because now we're at the point where we come up with a CR taking into account the bleed through for 344020 and this. So what do we see as a group CR? We went through, we've got a lot of bleed through and a lot more bleed through for this one than we do here.
Mm-hmm.
So these bleed throughs go with this one.
Yeah.
I would give the top one like a 4 or 4.5.
I would too.
Everybody else? Glenn?
Yes, I'd agree.
4.5. Who else? Anybody else? Alexis, are you still here? What would you do?
Yeah, 4 or 4.5.
Okay, and we're not doing that because of group pressure.
Nope.
So
I get, with the bleed-through factor as I saw it, I do a 4.5, and that's my only.
okay, I'm going to write it like this at first because it's not final yet. This kind of mind that's going in your mind is just what goes through the judge. We haven't finalized this yet. It doesn't get final until we put it up here, and then we report it. So now let's look at this one. What do we think about this one?
I think Chris got lucky with that 5, and everything else is just maybe 3 or 2.
I'd say 3.
I would say 3 as well.
Can you really look at it that way?
I
mean, I guess that's my question is
right.
if one viewer's session is really strong and the others aren't, you could look at it that he got lucky, or you could look at it that the others just didn't do such a good job.
Judging's a bitch. Judging is a bitch. Now notice here, he does have support. So there was at least one other one. So to bring it down to a 3 or 3.5 is sort of saying what I'm really doing is giving support to this one because I believe this is a 4.5. That's my analysis of the last few minutes of conversation. Is we're trying to justify this one by throwing this one away. And what I would probably do now is go back to Chris's, and I have a little more time.
I wasn't throwing away Chris's. I was just because Gerald, everyone else on the group had like, lower scores.
Well, but a 3.5 said there was enough that I believe I could wager on it. So 3.5 is not that low. In fact, here we only had a 4.5 and a 3.75, but we did have the bleed-throughs. Granted, I mean, I understand this one. I'm just trying to get you to think through it. Please, none of this is criticism.
Right,
These
right.
are comments to get you to be thinking about this. You know, how much of what was going on in your head was trying, in fact, to give support to this one. At least you have to think about. You have to think about that.
Right.
So I'd probably go back to Chris and Malcolm, and maybe we can do that real quickly here to see how strong we really felt about Chris. I mean, we gave Chris a 5, so obviously we thought a lot about Chris's. Let's look at Malcolm. And not only could he be lucky, let me tell you one other thing very quickly. And in fact, this happened with Chris, interestingly enough. He once gave me a really good description of what was a picture of, I can't believe I'm blanking on the word, the English, very well-known, spiritual rocks, got rocks. Come on. Stonehenge.
Stonehenge, yeah.
Stonehenge. And I went in that direction. He then finished and everything, and I asked him very gently, would you send me your wild card picture? Turned out to be a church that was even a better RV session. Even though he had AOL Stonehenge, his pictures turned out to be just right. There was a big brick wall. Anyway, I actually wrote about it somewhere in the back. So occasionally you do have sort of chance come into play with the wild card, but it's very rare. Okay, so we gave him a 5. So I actually think it's better to look at Malcolm's to see what do we think about his 3.5. So we gave him a 3.5 because of this.
As I'm looking at this with fresh eyes,
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing more bleed-through descriptors than I am descriptors for that other phototype.
Okay,
That's how I'm seeing it in his summarized. Because of the cold, even though he's saying desert location in his summary, well, a desert is like a lonely place, and this is a remote place with not very much life. I mean,
So yeah. So what are you suggesting, Johnny?
I'm suggesting that I'm actually seeing more bleed through to the other target in his.
In Malcolm's.
Yeah.
As
I look at it with fresh eyes now.
I would suggest that we lower his score.
I don't know though, because I mean there are mosques there are temples, and the buildings we're even looking at in that second picture are of like some of what we can see right here might be a mosque or a temple.
Looks like a mosque at back left. Looks like an onion shape on the left.
Oh, here.
Further left.
Right there. Yeah, that is a mosque.
So, I mean, what he's naming is actually in the picture. I think you've got to give, and also those buildings, how they appear could give one the idea of desert, because he had gotten pyramid, he had gotten like the texture of the buildings, so his subconscious might have just put that together as deserty, but maybe not.
Okay, so now having
both of these seem like so close, like it almost seems like it would be a pass.
well, let me now get us to put number here. What do you think we should put here, folks?
I still give it a 3 myself.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3.
Okay, and what about some of the rest of you?
I'd say a 4 or a 3.5.
And Glenn?
I would go for about 3.5.
Okay, and you see, when I see a 5, I would find it hard to go for a 3 ever. Giving you my opinion, because a 3 says I wouldn't wager on this even though there's a 5 in the mix, and that's because I consider 5s to be really good. When you get to a 5, if this isn't right, then I call it displacement, even though there's a chance, as I said, something can happen. But nevertheless, this raises one of the last things I want to tell. Let's make the range for now, because as a judge, you're going to have to face up to what I'm about to talk about. We went from 3 to 4.5. Okay? If you were to take the lower end of this as a 3 and put it here as the Group 2 CR2, okay, so that's called CR2, and if you were to take the higher end of this, which is 4.5, we would have a difference of 1.5, I mean, right? A difference of 1.5. Right. A difference of 1.5 is wagerable. So the difference that you make right here, now this is a rule I have set up for me as a judge, okay? That just because the judging, you can see a difference of 1 is, that's a reasonable representation of how off we could be. So I want the difference between the two CRs that I put here to be off by 1. So if I were to put, okay, I think you got it, but if I put 4.5 there and 3, we would wager over. However, if I were to make this 3 even a 3.5, I would give these to the people. They might even want to wager on it. I've been known to wager on the higher one, a small amount, because I believe when that happens, the probability is less than 80%, and I'm looking for 80%. But that then would give us a prediction of a pass. So as a judge, we've now come to that point where you have to come up with what the group prediction is. So and now, you see, even if I make this 4.25, then I can't get a prediction. So now you're right at the point where we have to finalize what we do here and what we do here. And it comes down to, do you feel strong enough to actually make a prediction and have people who are out there, the viewers and maybe even ourselves, who are going to wager or not? So this happens to be a very interesting one. Last week's was pretty clear, and we came to a conclusion. We get it out, and we got a hit. Do you feel like we're going to get a hit this week if we do 4.5 and 3, or not?
Can you scroll down a bit? All right. Do you ever just take like the averages? And
I forced myself. I used to do analytical things like that. And I found I didn't like them. Also, it was kind of a cop-out. If I take averages, which you can do here, that would lead to a pass. Personally, I'm now at the point where I am going to do it based on a final kind of intuition.
I see.
And do it or not do it. Also, if I'm trying too hard, I'll go for the pass. But that's because I'm going for 80%. My objective is for the groups that I work with, and this goes into that group. This counts. I counted the last one. Those of you who remember, this was the last one, and we got a hit. This is going into my data set. So, but nevertheless, I want you as judges just to think through, what would you do?
The problem with group judging, though, is like personally in the first one, I think Chris should have had much higher than a 4.5, and I think Malcolm should have had a higher than a 3.75. So I don't know if that would even make that much of a difference.
Yeah, I would agree with that
if
statement.
those scores went up a little bit, but
well, it would, because let's say you put this up to a 5. Then you can make this a 5 and this a 3.5 and feel comfortable. That's a 1.5 point difference. So you see, you're now at the point where you're trying to say, was there enough contrast with the bleed through and all of that? So it comes down to, having said all this with the numbers, it really comes down to, would you be willing, we all know we're not going to do under here. Okay, so that's no longer I think, in play. It's going to be either over or pass. So I'd like you each to vote if you would do an over or a pass here.
I would do an over.
I'd say pass.
Yeah, I guess it
I mean,
depends on my-
considering the performance of each individual remote viewer, everyone seems to have done better with the over. I mean, I would have given Chris a 5 for the over.
Mm-hmm.
That was my score for him.
Okay, so wait, we have, okay, so I want to make sure I've got everybody here. This is so cool. This is, you have to realize what we're doing here is all so cutting edge here. So I've got Alex is over, I have Nathan as pass.
I mean,
We're
I have
committing,
to admit, I do have that funny pass feeling.
Glenn
However,
is over,
I'm going with my intuition too,
which is
and I
what?
just feel I would go on a limb. I'm a risk taker, and I would do an over.
Okay, so
I mean,
Joni,
And then learn from my experience.
Joni is over. So I only have one pass, which is Nathan.
See,
Oh, and Deborah. Oh, and Deborah did a pass too.
oh,
And I would do a pass because I would never
I have
do.
an opinion on passes.
Okay.
Does passing invalidate everything? Because
No.
I think that if you pass, it's like you're saying that, oh, I don't really trust I don't really trust you, so I'm not going to commit on your prediction.
The hardest thing to get over is, as a judge, in my opinion, at least for me, was the ability to do a pass. I did a lot of misses early on in this, and if you go and look, and I've published this, I just don't have time to show it to you now, the track record, there was a streak there where I was, Joni, almost risk-taking. It didn't quite feel like that. It felt more like what was just said, that I didn't want to pass because here, everybody put in all this effort. I put in all this effort, and I didn't want to pass. And you know what? I had to get over that. Too often when I struggled like that, it was a miss.
Right.
That was my personal experience. Now, this is really interesting. I want to make sure I've got this right.
I think I.
How many overs and how many? I just don't think I have this right. I'm writing this down. I can't look and write at the same time. I have Alex as an over. I have Joni as an over. Who else was over? Alexis, you were an over. Joni, was anybody else over?
Oh,
I was over.
Glenn was over?
Yeah.
Okay. And who else? Anybody else? That's over. Who else did passes now? I have Nathan as a pass. Anybody else?
Deborah.
I'm sorry, who else?
Deborah's
Deborah.
a pass.
Yes, okay. And then Marty. Was there anybody else as a pass? No, there were only 6 of us here left.
We got 3 and 3, right?
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? So I don't think, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a pass, since this goes into the record, and now I'm going to write, so I'm going to make this a 4.5 and a
Something
3.5.
else, not that I think, like,
Okay, wait, I'm now really pushed for time. Let me finish this off with you. I tend to go to bookmaker here. Let's get the odds. These are the guys that tend to set the thing for everybody else. I've noticed that. Anyway, they're all the same. So we're going to just use them. We need to get the odds. We're passing, but we have to let people know what the odds were. So this is New York Yankees, Cleveland, okay, let's find New York Yankees as American League. I'm not a big baseball player, but I know the Yankees. I come from New York originally. So here it is, New York Yankees. Oh, I should put this on the other side. I'm doing this on my own side. You didn't see anything that I did. But I logged into bookmaker.eu. Here's the American League. Here's where we could bet. We're saying over 9, and the odds, it'd be, if it was minus 110, minus 110. Minus 105 means if you bet $105, you will get $5 back. So that's, you will get $100 back. So by risking 105, you make a profit of 100. So you would get $205 back. You get your wager back plus 100 if you bet on over. Just for fun, as I say, I bet relatively small amounts. I'm going to bet on this one, but I'm only going to bet $25. Okay, so I'm now in.
Even though
So,
you judged it as a pass, you're still going to wager?
well,
Yes.
yes, because this is high enough, and I think the probability is not 80%, but I think the probability is probably 60%. That this will win. I won't be surprised if it doesn't, but at 60%, I'm willing to bet $25. Okay, so that's my logic, and this now is a pass with 9 points. So this now completes as much as we can do as judges, and now I always do one other thing here.
And the Vegas odds are also in favor of this outcome. Is that correct?
The Vegas odds would be very similar to this.
Well,
If you,
the one was 105 and one was 115.
for over and under, correct. They're actually thinking
They're thinking over.
over is more likely, correct.
Right. Okay.
Because they made you pay more of a fig, they call it.
Yep.
Okay, so now what I have to do is email everybody, the viewers. You all now know what happened, so I need to do the viewers. Where, okay, so I want to go back, not there. I want to go back to here. And I don't want to tell everybody. I just want to do a reply. Okay. And I want to reply to the people who are here. Okay, I'm going to put this on the other side for now just because I want to look at this. I have 2 screens. So, okay, well, Joni, you're here. So, well, I'll reply. Oh, no, it's down here. I'm sorry. So I want Russ. I probably shouldn't put all their names. Let me see if I've got Russ. No, okay. If I hadn't put the names, I could just copy them from here. So he provided one, and Gerald provided one. And I'm just going to send off an email, and then you're done. Then you go play, and you have the rest of your day.
I think you got Chris's email wrong.
He's got more than one.
Oh, I see.
And I can send it to his other one, too, just to make sure he gets it. But I came up with that somewhere, so. But I do have another one for him. Let me just put in Chris and see what else comes up. The Verizon, and then there's a Chris, yeah, he has a Gmail one. Okay, and then Tom Atwater, I have normal, and then Malcolm is new. Control, oops. So I put Malcolm in. Okay. So here is Malcolm. Oops, and now I lost this, which I should have put in its beginning. So I always give them directly from here. You know what's so cool about this precognition is, in a unusual way, this is all has verification, because there's always somebody else who is seeing this as a true precognitive prediction. With, well, actually, let me do it this way. With, total runs. After a while, I'm going to stop doing all of this and just leave the yellow, but I'm still sort of educating people. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm sending this off to everybody. All the people that submitted. Oops. Oh, I got it. No, I didn't copy it right. Wait.
Oh,
It's C, Jor. I just missed the C dot here.
right. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, okay, I didn't understand.
So I had a question.
Yeah, shoot.
In an ideal judging session,
Yep.
where the remote viewers are consistently 90% correct, one side should be a CR +5 or higher, and the other side should be CR -2 or lower. Would you?
That's correct. I would love that. However, I've had, that would be the ideal, as you said, because one would clearly be strong, the other would be weaker. But I've had cases with 5s and 3.5, so the other side would actually have been wagerable, but the 5 was so strong that we went with it and got hits. The criteria I use is the higher number has to be bigger than 3.5 or bigger, and they have to be more than 1 apart. So I've had 3.5s and 2s that I went with.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Marty, does your 2 list include the judges too?
well, I figure you already know, but if you'd like, yeah, I can add the judges.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, in fact, let me try to do it this way. Let me see if this will work for speed. I do have to get out of here.
I mean, just for our records and.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think this is how this works. So I think I can do this.
Except the maybe, yeah.
There's Mark.
Just need a comma or something between.
There's Deborah. I think it'll add them. There's Alex. Oh, where's everybody else?
Maybe.
Oh,
Scroll up
okay.
a little.
So there's Joan, Nathan, Alexis. I keep calling you Alex. I'm sorry. Deborah.
Oh, it's all good.
Did I miss anybody here? If you're not here.
Oh, Glenn, yeah, Glenn.
There you are, Glenn. Okay. Okay, I'm going to let it go. And
That was a very challenging exercise, but we're excellent.
it was, and I really do have to go, so I'll say thank you all for coming. And if you have any questions or anything, I am an email person. Please email me, and we can continue the discussions. And then when there's the outcome of the game, I will send the feedback to everybody, judges and RVers.
Thank you, Marty. Have a good one.
Right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.